For today's question, Teddy wants me to compare two major characters from Disney sequels. Who is more likable, Jane or Melody? Specifically, Wendy's daughter from Return to Neverland and Ariel's daughter in The Little Mermaid II, Return to the Sea. Having seen both movies and having to really think about it, I would probably say Jane is the better and more likable character. I admit part of this stems from finding Return to Neverland a stronger film than The Little Mermaid II, which I consider one of my least favorite Disney direct-to-video sequels. Watching Return to Neverland, Jane's motivation makes more sense to me as she is somebody dealing with her father being off at war and having grown cynical due to growing up too quickly. While she does disrespect her mother and brother in the beginning of the film, it fits with the character development she is about to undergo. It also allows her to be her own character, rather than just being a copy of Wendy. Whenever the Disney sequels focus on the offspring of the main characters from the first movie, they were mostly written to be copies of their parents. Lady and the Tramp 2, with Scamp just being a younger tramp. The Lion King 2, with Kiara acting similar to young Simba. You get the idea. In doing this, the filmmakers also seem to rewrite those characters we grew to love. And I think The Little Mermaid 2 is the worst offender of this. Melody being interested in the sea is not a bad character trait. But in order for this to be a conflict, Ariel's made utterly unlikable. I understand she wants to protect her daughter from an evil sea witch, but her husband killed a giant sea witch with a ship. I think you're going to be okay. Let's not even get into how she built a giant wall separating her seaside kingdom from the ocean, likely affecting their main trade. Wasn't it established in the first movie that fishing was their biggest commodity? Good work, Ariel. You probably ruined your subject's livelihood and messed with the local economy. Anyway, Melody just ends up feeling like an underwritten character, and so much would be resolved if Ariel just said, "Hey, there's an evil sea witch who wants revenge on me, so be careful out there." This does make Melody's eventual misplaced trust in Morgana a bit more believable. I think they tried to make Melody's situation parallel to Ariel's, but it's just odd seeing Ariel being so overprotective when she knows how Triton's overprotectiveness led to her signing a contract with Ursula. That feels like a mistake you would want to avoid being repeated. Sorry that I keep going on about Ariel, but when Melody is this one-dimensional and the story is so contrived, it really hits me what the central problem with the movie is. Return to Neverland has a similar scenario, where Jane trusts Captain Hook, which is odd when you consider Wendy likely told her many times that he's a villain, and is always out to get Peter Pan. That plot point aside, Jane does have a bit more of a head on her shoulders. At the end of the day, the filmmakers behind both films had the tricky task of focusing on the story of the children of the previous film's protagonists. Return to Neverland thankfully did not change Wendy at all, while The Little Mermaid 2 completely hinges on Ariel turning into a different character altogether. Return to Neverland also had the advantage of working with a new lead whose goals are separate from her mother's. While Wendy was already aware of Neverland's magic, you have her more cynical daughter who needs a bit more time to be convinced. For The Little Mermaid 2, they just took Ariel's love of human life, her fascination, banned by her kingdom, and flipped it. Melody was even given a pair of animal sidekicks, who have the unfortunate disadvantage of having to be compared with the trio of Sebastian, Flounder, and Scuttle. But hey, Tara Strong does the voice of Melody, that's always a plus. Overall, yes, I do like Jane more as she was allowed to have a bit more of her personality. And while I know it's easy to knock on these Disney sequels, the people who made them tried their best, and I imagine the story directions they were allowed to take these films were rather limited, especially with how beloved the previous movies were. Anyway, thank you for your question, Teddy.